Hello and welcome to another video from Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today, well, we're looking at something that is super old, is incredibly rare and hard to find, and is obviously exceptionally collectible. We are looking at the 1968 release by IPC magazine from their brand new comic, which was entitled Jag. Now, Jag was the third comic series that IPC had released with cat titles, big cat titles. So the first one was Lion, then it was Tiger, and this was the third one, which was Jag. And it was a weekly comic, and it ran for quite a short-lived comic actually. It only ran for not quite a year. It ran from the 4th of May 1968, which is this particular issue, which is the very first one, and the final issue was on the 29th of March 1969. So it was only 48 editions of the comic that they produced. After that, it then merged with its sister comic, which was Tiger. Okay, so this particular comic was a slightly different format because it was tabloid size comic as opposed to a normal standard A4 size comic. So that would be your standard size comic, the size of the free gift that comes with it. But they made this one to try to appeal to a wider audience, a bigger audience. They made the comic the size of the tabloids, like your Daily Mirror or your Sun and that kind of thing. So the actual size of the comic is 15 inches or 38 centimeters, and width-wise, let's just move that over a little bit. Width-wise, we're looking at 30 centimeters or 12 inches. So it was a big comic, and obviously it doubled. So it became 60 once the page was open. So sadly, it didn't seem to take off that well. And they did actually, as I say, they reduced the size of it partway through the run, and then obviously merged it with Tiger. But anyway, this is that fantastic first issue, and you can see it comes complete with the free gift, which is the Bobby Moore book of the FA Cup, which we'll look at that in a moment. I'm just going to move that out of the way for the time being so we can have a look at this first issue of the comic. So this is it in front of us, and it says #1 with free gift inside, Bobby Moore's book of the FA Cup. And you've got the Jaguar logo, and it says Jag, 7 pence, that is, and that's the old pence because it was pre-decimalisation. And it's the 4th of May 1968, and it says every Saturday, and there you've got an image of one of the characters from one of the stories inside. So that's the front cover. Let's turn it over to the back. And on the back, you've got two great football teams. So you've got Scotland national team and England national team from 1968. Yeah, 68. I think I'm sure then if it was 67 or 68, but 1968. So it says 11 great Scots line up before meeting England earlier this year at Hampden Park. Left to right, Tommy Gemmell, Ron McCrimmon, Billy McNeil, Ronnie Simpson, John Gregg, Eddie McGrill, Charlie Cook, Billy Bremer, Alan Gilson, Willie Johnston, Bobby Lennox. At the last moment, Alan Gilson was unable to play owing to an injury, and his place was taken by John Hughes, the big Celtic centre forward. The Scots played gallantly against England in that memorable match, but could only draw 1-1. The first official international between Scotland and England was played in 1872 in Glasgow and ended in a draw 0-0. The countries have now met 85 times, Scotland winning 35 of those games, England 29, and 21 have been drawn. So this is the England squad. Here is the England team that beat Wales 3-0 last November at Cardiff. Left to right, back row, Alan Mullery, Keith Newton, Jackie Charlton, Gordon Banks, George Cohen, Bobby Moore, Bobby Charlton, Roger Hunt, Alan Ball, Jeff Hurst, Martin Peters, 9 of these famous England stars were in the winning World Cup team at Wembley in 1966. Only Nobby Stiles and Ray Wilson were missing from this team. Photographed, both were injured and their places were taken by Alan Mullery and Keith Newton. Bobby Charlton has now played in 82 English senior international teams since gaining his first cap against Scotland in 1958, and Bobby Moore in 57 matches. There we are. Okay, so that was the back page. Okay, without further ado then, let's turn the comic back round to the front and let's open it up and have a look on the inside. Okay, so I've opened it up and you can see it is absolutely huge, this comic. So the graphics appear to have been blown up again. They've enlarged them. There doesn't appear to be much more content on each page. It's just that it's been made bigger, easier to read. So anyway, so you've got the introduction, you've got a lot of funnies there, and then you've got the first story, which is the Mouse Patrol, and that's a 2-page story. Then you've got Captain Codsmouth. You've got the Indestructible Man. That was a great story actually of its time. That actually went on to be moving to Tiger when this comic merged with the two. You've got a sports quiz there. And then we move on to Custer, Kings of the Ring, the penalty area, the Daredevils, again another advert there, Snob College and Cops and Robbers, another advert page there, and then we got Thunderball, the Happy Explosion. So that is the comic. Now doesn't appear to be an awful lot of content in there for the size of it. It's just that they've grown, they blew the magazine up, but the content is not a great deal more in there. However, it does come with this free Bobby Moore book of the FA Cup, and it says presented 3 with Jag. And there at the front there you can see Bobby Moore holding the FA Cup when he won it with the West Ham team. And if I turn it over to the back, and there you can see Bobby Moore, who was captain of West Ham, also captain of England at the time, and he's been lofted above by his teammates, and he's holding the FA Cup. Okay, let's open it up. And it also says on there, Fleetway Publications, 1968. So it says goals that set the fans roaring, and that's goals in the cup. So Arsenal v Newcastle, Blackpool v Bolton, Aston Villa Man United, Bolton Wanderers v Man United, Wolves v Blackburn, 1964, West Ham v Preston, Everton v Sheffield Wednesday in 66, 67, Tottenham v Chelsea, and so on. Great shots. So you've got some of the great players that were shooting during the FA Cup. So you had David Gibson from Leicester, Dennis Law from Man United, Jim McCulloch from Sheffield Wednesday, Billy Bremer from Leeds, Ian Ura from Arsenal, Alan Gilson from Spurs, Ian St John from Liverpool. They also played for Motherwell, and Eddie McGreed from Chelsea, and Frank, who is captain of Arsenal. Spurs go marching on, Tottenham Cup winners in 1962 and in 1967, and they scored the goals. These are the goals, the players that have scored the goals in past FA Cups. And then we got the captain's meet, and that's at the kick-off of the 1963 FA Cup final. 1965, 1966 and 1967, and there's Liverpool who won the cup there in 1960. Liverpool there won the cup in 1965, and 1963 was Man United. Wembley scrapbook, so images of players that have played at Wembley, and there's Liverpool Football Club. The Kings of the Cop, apparently, and then it's got cup fighters who cost a fortune. So they're the players that cost the most amount of money back in the day. So Mike England writes, Spurs giant centre-half from Blackburn Rovers received $98,000 for him when he joined Spurs in 1966. Mike captains Wales. Emily Hughes, born at Barrow, he made his name with Blackpool, and his transfer to Liverpool March 1967 cost the club £65,000. So, I mean, there we go. I mean, that's the kind of type of money that was being paid back in 1968, and obviously it's pittance compared to what they're paying for players these days. And there we go, Cup happy captains. So you got 1950, 51, 52, 53, 56, 57, 58, 60, 65, and so on. So, and that's it. We're back to the back page. Okay, so that is the Jag comic, the very first issue from 1968, 4th of May 1968, together with that free gift, which is Bobby Moore's book of the FA Cup. Okay, now, the question I hear you asking, how well did this comic do back in the day? Well, it started off okay. It started off with a bit of a surge, because obviously they do a lot of promotion on when they launch the comics. However, it failed to reach the heights that was expected of this particular comic. Unlike Lion and Tiger, which did reach bigger heights, this particular one didn't. So, as I say, after 48 issues, it then merged with Tiger, and was Tiger and Jag for a few issues before the Jag title was dropped, and it just went on to become Tiger. So the popular stories from this comic moved into Tiger, and then Jag was reduced to the history books. Shame really, because I did think it was a nice concept of the comic. What they should have done really, though, I think, was added more content. So instead of just blowing the image of the comic strips up, and everything in there is just blown up, just been made bigger, they should have added more content. And I think if they did that, it would have been a much more successful magazine, or comic, I should say. Yeah, it didn't. It was just literally, I just made it to be newspaper size, but it was just a standard comic, really, just a little bit bigger. But the price tag was much bigger than the other comics of the time, which is probably another reason why it just didn't work, sadly. So 48 issues later, it merged with Tiger, and really that was the end of the comic. Now let's move forward. Not quite 60 years, but 57 years to where we are today, which is 2025. Does this comic come up very often on the platform? And the answer to that is no. Issue 1, I searched and searched the platforms, I couldn't find it anywhere. There was a couple of issues 2s and 3s, but I could not find issue 1. Having said that, though, I did find a couple of these Bobby Moore FA Cup books on the platforms. They were being sold separately from the comic, obviously, because they didn't have there was no comics there. I couldn't even find. I went back about 3 years, and I couldn't find a single one of the comic being offered online. But there was about 3 or 4 of these free gifts that were available on the platforms. But the complete set like this, no, nowhere to be found. So yes and no. No, this item, the main comic itself, does not come up on the platforms very often at all, if at all. I can understand why. If there was only 48 issues produced, only issued throughout 1 year, 68 to 69, just over a year, or just under a year, I should say. So no, it really doesn't come up very often. However, the book, the Bobby Moore book of the FA Cup, does appear occasionally from time to time, but it does demand a fair amount of money, because it is so old and quite rare. However, if you are going to order one on the platform, do be careful, because they are in various different types of condition. So just make sure you have a good read of what you're actually going to buy. Some platforms use stock photographs or stock images, and stock descriptions, so you could actually be reading something that you're not going to get. So if you see the used icon, click on it and read what they're offering you, because otherwise you may think what you're ordering is what you are seeing, but it might be something completely different that you're actually ordering. So just be a bit careful. But of course, if you want this newspaper or comic, I should say, you won't be able to find that on the platforms. I couldn't find it on the platforms, so I don't think any of you will be able to. But of course, we at Midas Touch have done the impossible, and we have this comic with the free gift available to purchase on the Midas Touch website. We have just one copy though, and as of today, it is available to purchase on the Midas Touch website, which you can get to very simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website, where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage comics and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles. Come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I am absolutely positive that this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there is something in particular you are looking for, something old you'd never be able to find, something quirky that you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful, very rare old comic with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.